guys, how are you doing? You're welcome back to my channel. You're welcome back to with Oluwa Pelumi. It's your first time here. My name is Oluwa Pelumi and I am a lawyer and business analyst currently living in Lagos, Nigeria. I like to make videos about working as a business analyst and working in tech generally. And I like to make videos about what it entails to work in tech. Not limited to my specific area. Sometimes I like to feature other people, but essentially, currently, I like to make videos about tech and as well things that I find interesting, as I go by. But predominantly, I like to make videos about tech. So thank you for stopping by for whatever reason that you stopped by and you're seeing this face for the first time. You're highly, highly, highly welcome, and you're in the right place. Thank you so much. If this interests you, kindly stick around as we progress in the video. And if you're an OG already, meaning if you're an OD, what's good, what's happening, you guys are welcome back to my channel. I am the real MVP. Please subscribe, kindly like, and of course, like I always say, meet me in the comment section. Your subscription is highly valued. Thank you guys so much. In today's video, right, before we get right into the basics of the video, in today's video, or tutorial, or whatever name you want to give it, I'm going to be showing us how to create business requirement documents or requirement documentation, as you might like to put it, right? And I'm going to be showing you step by step of the things that form or the components that make up a requirement document, and how you can go about putting these components together, right? And so if you missed the last video, which is I've done a couple of tutorials as well. I'm going to link all the videos that I've done in relation to tech. I'm going to be linking them in my description bar. You can go there to check. Link for users. I've done a video which is already up. I'm not sure if the user persona video is already up by the time you're seeing it. If it's up already, I'll also link that as well. So without too much talk, let's get right into the video. So for somebody that has never, heard of business requirement documents before, you just may be wondering what is a requirement document. A requirement document is a formal written document that outlines in detail the technical and logical requirements of a project, right? So to bring it to fore, you will say maybe like if it's now a business requirement document, if you now include a business requirement document, right? If I change this, I can now say a a business requirement document is a document that outlines, I don't know why it's writing in bold, that outlines in detail the technical, so we can now say the business technical and logical requirements of a project, right? Essentially. And this business requirement document is supposed to guide the entire software development lifecycle of a project. So what the of the software development lifecycle of project, meaning this documentation that I'm going to be coming up with is going to be useful for anybody that's going to be involved in the software development lifecycle of this project. The developers are going to use it, the the QA quality assurance testers are going to use it, the penetration test team, which are the people that that ensure that the code base, everything has been written well. They're going to need it. They are going to use it. The UAT team are going to use the document. The securities team are going to use the document. This is when you get to the stage of coming up with your security requirement. Your UI UX team is going to need it. So do you understand now that your document is the bedrock, is the bone that holds the entire project together? If your documentation is off, it's going to lead the entire team astray, and it's going to lead the entire software development life cycle astray. So yes, your requirement document is the big deal, is that girl, is that guy, your requirement is the ish. So it's not negotiable, and your requirement document is valuable and doing the work, right? So know this and know how important. I'm saying this to drive home the fact that your requirement documentation is extremely important, and your ability to draft a well written or come up with a well and extensive requirement documentation is non negotiable, right? It's non negotiable. Um, so let's proceed, right? So, what are the components of a requirement document, right? Owning from the definition that a business requirement documentation is a formal written that outlines in detail the business, technical, and logical requirements of a project. So let's focus on the business part, and let's say what are the what somebody just guess, what they think should be the number one in a requirement documentation. So let's go project scope, right? So what should your project scope entail? Your project scope, aka summary, what should it entail? You know, your project scope should basically tell a story of what this project is all about. But if I say say my name is Oluwakwelumi, I say what's the project scope or summary of Oluwakwelumi? In a few words, I should be able to say Oluwakolumi is this, that before we now begin to go into the intricacies of what my eye is, or what my finger is, of what my nose is, of what my mouth is. Do you understand what I'm saying? Its project scope should summarize what the project is all about, should define what the project scope is all about. If I look at a project and say, oh, okay, oh, they're trying to achieve, okay, oh, okay, this project, is building a platform that transfers money from Nigeria to UK. That's a project scope. That puts it, by seeing it, I'm not thinking, are they trying to, what's this about? I'm not confused. Succinctly put, when I look at this project scope, I'm able to see that. Right? So next, you should be able to say, what's the project goal? Right? Essentially, what's the value that we're trying to get from this? It's easy to confuse these things together. A summary is what we are trying to come up with, while the goal is, what's the need that we're tying the need from people into what we're trying to achieve, more like a justification for the scope. So maybe in the goal, I can begin to say, oh, currently there is no this because of outcry from customers, or because of a survey that was done, and this we have found out that about 20,000 people are lacking in this area, and and by the end of this project, the goal is that we will have been able to reach. So you see the difference. Project goal is a bit different. Project goal will be the the end results of the project, right? So let's proceed. And so we're also, for some, you might now begin to put into terms the benefits. You can say this is optional, but you can now add project benefits, meaning putting a name into the benefits, right? You can say you can you can say customer enlargement, customer whatever, but this is optional, right? Now, so let's get into functional requirement. The next one that you should put into your is functional requirement. So how do we derive, or how do we get to a place of functional requirement? Ideally, your functional requirement, speaks to anything that is required for the system to function, right? anything that is required for the system to fulfill its objective and to fulfill its goal. Meaning, if I say something is a payment platform and I'm saying that I want to allow customers to be able to transfer money from Nigeria to the UK, what do you think my functional requirement should be? My functional requirement should probably be like I should be able to log in. Duh, right? Basic, right? I should be able to log into the application. I should be able to access a payment tab. I should be able to probably enter the account details of the person I'm transferring money to. Do you understand? These are functional, these are the granular details of what the system must fulfill, the granular feature that the system must fulfill to be able to function optimally, using the word functional requirements, right? So then you can now begin to go into things like, right, non-functional requirements speaks to things like the capacity of the application, the usability of the application. Is it usable? Um, how many, when I'm talking about capacity, how many people are can use the application? See, like, can it take a large volume? You know, functionally, by looking at functional requirement, when I still log on to the app, I'm still able to enter account number of my beneficiary. I'm still able to, my account is still being debited, right? But non-functionally, on a peak day, can 5,000 people use the application at the same time? Do you understand? Can 50,000 people access the application as at the same time? There are many things that determine non-functional requirements. You're talking about, scalability. How quick can the application scale, right? So you're looking at usability, you're looking at capacity, you're looking at a lot of things that must fulfill, that you must fulfill to come up with your non-functional requirements, right? So after your functional requirements, you then proceed with your non-functional requirements as it applies to the application, right? So there's something we call a cost benefit analysis. A cost benefit analysis kind of does like a justification for the amount and the entire cost that will go into the project and the value that will be derived, putting into consideration the cost that have gone into the project. What am I trying to say? Take, for example, you want to set up a business. Would you not outline, maybe a what type of business? Let's say cost for ads or costs for resource. Maybe you're going to be hiring, people. Maybe cost for cost for tools or equipment. You're supposed to outline these things, right? And you're supposed to be able to derive based on the value that this application is supposed to give you. By the time you subtract, your cost for these things and the value you're supposed to derive, you're supposed to be able to say, oh, okay, in the next 2 years, I would have broken even, or I would have made so amount of money, right, from this application. Or this application, by doing this, let's say it's an old application, this is another part of it. This is an old application, and we say, currently we are spending a lot of money. In the case of an old application, I say, oh, we're currently spending a lot of money, right? And to be able to, and if we go with this project, we will not have to pay resources. If we this application will eliminate, hiring human beings to do this, right? If we look at the cost of your application and the cost of paying salaries, and we do maths and division, there's a calculation that applies to cost benefit analysis, by the way. Maybe something I can take at a later day, but there's also a calculation. There's a formula that is used for calculation in cost benefit analysis. And I'm saying, okay, if I subtract the amount that I'm using to pay for this application, and I subtract it from in comparison to how much I'm currently using to
pay staff, you know, this is the benefit. Oh, okay, so I'm going to be saving a lot of money if I'm not paying staff this amount of money, but I can use it on the tools. Do you understand what I'm saying? So that's what the cost benefit analysis is. There's something that we also call accounting accounting details. Again, let's say it's a payment platform, right? There will be accounting semantics. Let's use a payment platform from. Let's use Piggyvest. In Piggyvest, I think you take money from customer, right? But you also know that it is not a case of you take money from customer and you credit Piggyvest. That's when there are a lot of money that is always included at the back end, right? You when you take money from you, charges are deducted, right? When charges are deducted, VAT are deducted, you know, VAT are probably taken from the charges they deducted from you. So there's always like an accounting table that says when you debit customer, you credit Piggyvest something something account this total amount of money from the charge, and from this Piggyvest and from this Piggyvest charge that has been taken, we now begin to deduct that VAT and put into this account. So you have to be able to have these accounting details, because it's these accounting details that you have that your developer would be able to configure and put into the system, such that if I, Oluwapelumi, use Piggyvest and Piggyvest and money is deducted from my account, the money on Piggyvest end will go where it's supposed to. All the money will go where they are supposed to go for the purpose of auditing, and accounting. You understand the importance of this, and that money goes where it's supposed to go. This is the essence of accounting detail. But I must say that this does not apply to all projects, because not all projects have accounting attached to them. But for projects that require accounting details, must be included. So if your solution does not have anything to do with money, you're not collecting money, you're not crediting money, you're not doing anything, you can already tell that there's no need for an accounting entry in your project, right? Okay, let's let's proceed. There's something we call inside your requirement document. You will also be putting in your SWOT. When looking at a project, it's good to identify your seemingly good and the bad. The risk that is probably involved in the project. You need to be able to identify, you know, so that you find ways to mitigate this risk from the very beginning. You have put them into consideration, and in the development of the project, how to mitigate this risk have also been considered. So you are going to consider the strength of your project, right? Maybe the strength is you are the first in the market, for example. Maybe this is an innovative project, this is the first of its kind. Or the strength of this project is supposed to outrun what is currently obtainable in the market. But maybe currently in the market, they can bank wide, they are only able to do 10,000 transactions, right? And maybe the strength of the project is that this project will enable you to be able to do 40,000. I'm just saying. So you also need to consider the weaknesses. What are your weaknesses in the project, right? What what would probably pose as a difficulty in the fulfillment of this project? You also have to consider that. What are the opportunities that this project comes with for you? Will it allow you to cover a demographic? Would you allow you to cover like a demographic of people? Would you allow you to cover maybe teenagers? Would you allow you to cover maybe children? You know, maybe would you allow you to cover market women? Maybe that's an opportunity to, you know, generate revenue. And so, what will be the possible threats to your project? It's very important that you capture this. Please also know that organizations sometimes have like their templates that they use for their requirement documentation. So you might get an organization and some of these things are not included in it, but ideally these are some of the things that will be included in your requirement documentation, ideally. And yes, this kind of captures everything that should be included in your requirement documentation. There's something that we also call process flows, or aka or process modeling, right? I'm going to have to do a separate video on how to write process flows or process modeling. But ideally, process flows means that from point A to point B of using this application, what are the steps? Or rather, of using the steps of using an application. So you're saying from the point where I log in to when I leave the application. Say from login to logout. Do you understand? What are the things I do once I log in on the application? What are the things that I do throughout my time on the application till I'm done with using the application? That's a process flow. And in identifying a process flow or in properly documenting a process flow, there are methods or techniques that we use in doing this, and which is called process modeling. To do process modeling, there are tools that you use for process modeling. You use visual. I've talked about visual. I talked about Lucy Chat before in this video. I'm going to link everything in the description bar. You know, this helps you to visualize your process flow and put them into diagrams and create touch points, from point A to point B, and create action items, action points and all that. This allows you to do that. All right. All right. So there's also a part that speaks to your security requirements, right? Oh, before I go to security requirement, there's a part that speaks to architectural diagram. I mean, since we are still speaking about process modeling, right? Because it's the same tools that you use for process modeling that you also use for architectural diagram. So, what are architectural diagrams? Architectural diagrams are a lot very similar to um very similar to using to process flows, right? Or process modeling. The only difference is that architectural diagram speaks to what happens in the back end. So while process modeling speaks to steps of using an application, you know the architectural diagram speaks to steps for interaction within a system, right? So let's say architectural diagram, you would see things like maybe at a point a customer receives an email or at the point a customer receives an OTP. Architectural diagram now speaks to the services, now captures the service and say, oh, at this point, customer receives OTP. Architectural diagram states it out and say, oh, at this point, this service is called. This OTP service is called so that customer can receive an OTP, or says at this point an SMS service is called so that customer can receive OTP. Or maybe it's a payment platform, just like we referenced before. It says, okay, at this point, a customer's account number is validated. And what allows the validation of the customer's account number? It is a service. Maybe say, oh, this service for account validation is what is called. That's what. So steps for interaction of services within a system. That's clear. So let's go into security requirements, right? Okay. Security requirement. Typically, you have in an organization a team that focuses on, this ensuring that development is done in the best possible standard, following best security standards. And so ideally at this point, you are not, as a business, as a BA, you are not specifically required to be able to, come up with the security requirements. If you can, that's an added advantage to you. But there's typically like a team that evaluates all your requirements and have you at this point you have a session with them and say, "Oh, this is what we're trying to achieve. These are the process flows, these are the architectural diagram, these are all the services involved in this that will enable us to fulfill this project, these are the business requirements." And the security team will typically look at all the components, of this. It's a payment platform, they've looked at everything and say, okay, you look at everything and say, okay, to be able to support this type of an application that you're trying to come up with, and to be able to come up with the best possible solution that is viable when customers start to use it and does not pose a threat security wise, they have to fulfill this requirement. So just like your business requirement, they also have security requirement that must be fulfilled for the solution to be a success and for it to deliver optimal value to customer. You don't want to be using a platform where your card details is not secure. A payment platform where you have to enter your card details, but you realize that after you enter your card details on this platform, you begin to receive unsolicited debit alerts because it has been compromised. That's what a security team does, and that's what security requirements seeks to achieve. These security requirements are now what the development team will have to implement, you know, in the application to give proper security value, right? Right. So timelines, you now that's why sometimes business analysts also act as project managers, right, on on in a project, right? Or sometimes you have project managers as well. At this point you are now required to come up with timelines, say, okay, we've outlined everything, right? And so what will be required, what time will it take, what's the time frame for each point of this software development life cycle, from the point of um, UI UX design to software development to QA test to security test to user acceptance test, right? To change approval before you now trying to push it out to the general public. What time will it take from point A till this very end? All right. So you typically have to do like a breakdown, you know, of these things, and you put people that are responsible for achieving these things, right? And you also include the time when it will start and when it will end, right? So timelines, right? And so the last but not the least is the resource, the resources. So who are the people that are going to be working on the project? Who is the BA? Myself. I put my name there. Who is the project manager? Myself. Persons working on the project. So who is the PM, project manager? You put the person there. Who is the developer? You put the person there. Who is the UI UX designer? You put the person's name there. Who is the QA tester? You put the person's name there. Everybody that has responsibility in achieving one thing or the other on the project. Who is the project sponsor? The product owner. Every person you include them here, such that it becomes an artifact, and everybody that references the document say, oh, okay, 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 okay. Maybe somebody needs information on the project, can say, okay, but you can just look at the document and say, okay, it's the person that worked on it. Okay, I'll need to speak to this person. That's essentially, what that does, right? Um, so thank you. At this point, I think we've come to the end. Please, I'd like to state categorically that these components that I've stated here are inexhaustive. So meaning that they are not limited to just the things that are here, but the things that are put here are just, in my opinion, some of the most necessary, things that must be included in your requirement documentation. Well, I forgot to put, sometimes you have to put maybe like approvals as well, people that are going to be approving, right, the documentation. So if you have other things that you think that, or you by practice have always include in your documentation, please feel free to put them in the comment section. I'm open to checking them out. I'm probably implementing them myself. Who knows? So thank you very much. Bye, guys.
Thank you so much. I hope you enjoy that. I hope you have gained a few insights, and the by the end of this video, you must have been able to know how to write requirement documentation. You must have been able to put the components together. And to further help you, it would be nice for you to practicalize these things that you learn in this video. That's the only way you can, learn. So this video can be like a guide, you know, in writing your own. Just write a sample requirement document. It doesn't need to be anything major in the first place. Just at least try. You understand? Let this video guide you. Try even the user story video, let them guide you. Try to write them at least, and you will, trust me, you get better with time. So thank you so much for watching this video. To my next vlog, please don't forget to subscribe, don't forget to share, don't forget to like, share with people, share with friends, share with everybody. I would like, please, anytime you come across this video, please just click the share button and just click the subscribe button. Thank you so much. And to my next vlog. Bye, guys. Adios.